Hi crafty friends, Katrina the Crafty Cataloger here for a very long overdue update. I wish I could say that life just gets in the way, and I guess in a way it did. I just need to learn to stop and do this and let some other things sit. And I have a hard time doing that. My only real probably reason why this got pushed back several weeks was we did get our barn built. Those of you who have been with me for a while know that we moved. Actually, tomorrow is the 1-year anniversary of us purchasing this house, which blows my mind. Like, I can't believe it's been a year already. But you may remember that one of the things we knew we needed to do when we bought this house was build a barn. And we were able to get that done this spring. I will post a picture of the barn right here. And it did take several days over the course of a couple of different weekends to get everything moved into there and organized. So I guess I can use that as my excuse for why I didn't get this done earlier. If you're new here, thanks for stopping by. I hope you'll see something that inspires you. If you're a returning friend, thank you so much for coming back. I do appreciate it. I can't think of anything else right now that I need to say, so let's just get into me catching you up to what I've been doing since I last posted in April. And we will start off with Crossstitch. So the first thing I'm going to share with you in the area of Crossstitch isn't even really Crossstitch. And I feel like I should have a picture of what this is supposed to look like somewhere, but I don't know where. If I can find it, I will post a picture here. This is actually embroidery. I'm not a fan. I'll say that right up front. My mother has a habit of purchasing things that she doesn't even do. She's been known to buy cross-stitch projects and then she tries them, and every time she says that she doesn't like it because she can't see it. This is an embroidery project that she purchased, and then she decided that she was never going to get to it. In fact, what she said to me was, I don't have time to do this. Do you think maybe you could tackle it? And I really had to bite my tongue because I wanted to say, you don't have time, you're retired. I still have a full-time job. But because I have a hard time saying no, I said, sure, give it to me. I don't know how to embroider, Mom. Well, yeah, you do. I'm like, no, embroidery and cross-stitch is not the same thing, but whatever. So I have this probably a little over half done. I am hoping to finish it up in the next couple of weeks so I can gift it back to her for her birthday. It is the state of Michigan. And you can see there's some spots like I still have to do this flower and this flower. Most people I've showed this to, and the Upper Peninsula is up here, but I haven't gotten there yet. Most people I've shown this to are like, oh, that's really pretty. And I guess it's okay. I actually don't think it's that pretty myself. I think it's too busy and cluttered, but that's just my opinion. And I probably have a bad attitude about it anyway because I'm not enjoying it. I will be very happy if I don't ever do another embroidery project after this again. Let me make X's. I like doing that. I have my laptop's right over here to my right, and I do have a list. So if I glance that way, that's what I'm doing. I'm looking at my list to try not to forget anything. I want to give away off of Janet Jabber's YouTube channel, and it was for the PCS Snowman 2023. I'll try to post a picture of it right here. I should have probably mentioned that, I think, in my last video, because I think it was that long ago and I forgot. So I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that. And if you're not watching Janet, you really should. She is just very enthusiastic and enjoyable to listen to, and her videos aren't very long, so it's something to look forward to every Monday. I had a start and a finish. This was one of my Whip Go pieces. It's Winter Quaker. I believe this is, I should know who this is, but right off the top of my head it is escaping me. But I did finish it, started and finished it. It's cute. I don't know what I'll do with it yet. Probably make it into a little flat fold or something that I can pull out and stick somewhere for the winter months. I FFO'd 2 projects that I believe I'd shown you before, or I at least finished them and then fully finished them, but I've already gifted them, so I will have to insert pictures. The first one was Starbarks, and those of you who are new, to catch you up on the story, my sister-in-law has a dog, a dachshund named Penny, and so I've been stitching several of these for my sister-in-law, and I stitched Starbarks, and then the other one I finished for her was Winter Wienerland, and I have one more that I'm intending to do at this point. I'd love to have it maybe done this year and get it to her for Christmas, but I don't know that that will happen. But once I have that last one done, she will have basically something to cover every portion of the year, every season, every major holiday. There are more patterns in the series than what I'm going to do. So, did that. I worked on Mini Village Bookstore. I did not get that one out, but it's right here. I don't know if I have a before picture. This is something else I really need to work on. I am horrible about taking pictures, and I don't know why. Actually, it's not so much that I'm horrible about taking the pictures. I'm horrible about how to organize the pictures so that I can find them when I need them. If any of you have any suggestions, any routines that you do that help you with that, please let me know what they are, because for someone who catalogs for a living, you'd think that I'd be decent at that, and I'm not. I'm horrible. So if I had a before picture, I've put it up, but here's where I am now. What did I even work on? I can't even remember. I think I was working in this area. I really, I'll talk about full coverage here in a little bit some more. I would love to finish this one up, but I am still a ways away from finishing. I worked on my second WoW piece, World of Warcraft piece. I did not pull that one over here. I'll show you that one soon, not today. We're going camping next week, and that one's going to go with me, so I'm thinking it will get a little more work. So it will be in my next update. I finished Give Thanks. This is by Teresa Kogut. I really like this. And actually it is supposed to say Give Thanks across the bottom, and I decided that I did not want to stitch the words. I think it looks really good without the words, and I intend to finish it somehow so that it can hang up basically from about September through November. So I finished that one. I also can't show you, but I finished the Silly Birds birth record, which was for my niece and nephew-in-law and their new baby, beautiful baby girl. And I put the name and the birthday on that, and I re-gifted that back to them, and they seemed very pleased with that. So that is finished. I finished this piece, and I will put a picture in here. It's called Bears and Blocks. And there's a little story behind this piece. I started this piece in most likely the summer of 1999 with the full intention of hanging it up in the nursery for our firstborn child, who then had the audacity to come 2 weeks early, so it didn't get finished. Now, in retrospect, as I finished this, it probably wouldn't have gotten finished in those 2 weeks, but that's my story and I'm sticking to it. And so I always kind of joked that I would finish it and give it to that child when he had his own children. And as many of you know, we are expecting our first grandchild in October, and it's him and his wife. So I finished this and I did gift it to her at the shower that her family had for her last weekend. I did put a note with it. I actually wrapped it for my son, and because I feel like I'm kind of giving it to him. But I put a note in with it that told the story of when I started it and why I was giving this to them. But I also said, I understand that this is not your decorating style, and so I'm not going to be offended if you don't put it up. I am intending to do a piece for baby girl. That I think they will like and will fit their decor much better than this particular one. But I just felt like I needed to finish it up and gift it, so I can say that I have officially finished my oldest whip. Now that means I now have a different oldest whip, which I probably should dig out and see if I can finish up, but that's for another day. Then I worked on, I went to a stitchy meetup 2 Saturdays ago in Saginaw. And what I took with me was this, and I'm doing this one right here. Yes, that one right there. This is from Reindeer Games by Brenda Gervais. And again, those of you who have been with me before will remember this, but for anyone who's new here, every year I try to make a Christmas ornament for, I have 2 nieces and I have 2 sons that I try to make ornaments for every year. And that is this year's ornament. I have already made 2 of them. There's number 1, there's number 2. And I started number 3 at the Stitchy meetup. Oops, that was probably really loud, I'm sorry. Also, I'm really hoping you can't hear the road noise. I did close one of the windows in my craft room, but the other one is still open, and we live on a very busy road. So I started number 3, and that's how far I got in one afternoon. So hopefully I can finish that up here in the next couple of weeks, and then I'll just have one more to do to have those done for this Christmas. Pardon me while I pick up everything that I dropped on the floor. And when those are finished, I have these that I'm intending to mount them on, which should be really cute. I started a piece the other day because my Whipco board told me I needed to. And this is a pattern by my friend Harmony. Her channel is Cornerstone Stitchery. If you're not watching Harmony, you should also watch Harmony. There's her logo for her company. She's only put out a few patterns, but this is one of them. And the Whipco goal says that I am supposed to start and finish this month. So far, I don't have a lot of stitches in it. I think I've worked on it a total of 3 days, and all 3 of those days were during my lunch hour at work. So that's why there's not a whole lot of stitches in there, because I have to eat, and I don't eat while I stitch. So But I got to start, and I will probably take that with us when we go camping next week and try to work on it some more. I am going to use, you can see I'm using purple, she used blue. I am using this Threadworks, it's number 10382, and I am going to use Classic Colorworks Antique Lace for the other color that's in the pattern. So I've been working on that. And then I was behind on Whip Goggles. I had 2 different squares that said I needed to work on Glory of Autumn for 4 hours. So because I was behind, I actually needed to do 8 hours, and I'm happy to say that last night I actually finished. I actually exceeded the 8th hour, and I might do a little bit more on it today before I actually put it away. I would really love to have this piece finished. It's a Dimensions kit. I absolutely love this picture. I really don't enjoy stitching this one. I need to remember this, and I need to not purchase Dimensions kits. It honestly hurts my hand to some degree to work on this. You know, when you're trying to shove 6 strands of floss through spots, it's rough. Here's where I am now. I focused a lot this time up in here, and I made myself fill all of this in. And so I have a couple of rogue stitches, I think about 4 across in this area right here that I still need to fill in. And I may make myself do those before I put it away. And I kind of would like to maybe get some of these hanging threads taken care of, just so that they're not, oh, that's just a loose thread. But there's still quite a bit down here. All the water. I have to finish the fence, the water, and this over here is getting close to being done. I would have loved to have this finished for this fall, but it's not going to happen, especially since I know I need to stitch another piece for the grandbaby. So I think this will probably go on my Whip Go board next year, probably 2 times. I'm thinking another 2 4-hour work sessions. I'm thinking I could probably finish the stitching in another 4 hours, maybe. The great thing is that a lot of what's down here is half stitches. And then it'll probably take me another 4 hours to do the back stitching, because there's quite a bit of back stitching on this piece. So that takes us to my last piece I worked on for a little while, and the one that I need to talk about a bit, and I also need some suggestions, opinions. So the last piece I was trying to work on was Sunlight Sonata. This is a Tilton Crafts. I am way behind on what I would like to have done on full coverage so far this year. I really don't know why. I just can't seem to get myself in gear. Anyway, I was thinking about this one a lot, and I thought, oh, maybe I should switch to doing tent stitch. And I did ask on Instagram, and many people said yes, you could switch to tent stitch partway through and no one would ever know. And I was like, really? So I did. In fact, I did all the way over to find the far edge. All of this over here is tent stitch, and a lot of this in here is tent stitch. This stuff over here on this side right now you can tell is tent stitch, but I believe that once you fill in the rest, you would not ever be able to tell, because over here where I intermixed it, you can't tell, and where I have put big chunks of tent stitch all at once, you can't tell. And that kind of blows my mind. But I'm still having a very hard time seeing this. It's on 25 count. I originally started Mini Village bookstore on 25 count way back when, and I restarted that one because I didn't like it and I couldn't do it. So I don't know what possessed me to purchase 25 count for this one again. I think I do know what possessed me. I wanted it not to be huge, and so I was trying to get the size down by putting it on smaller fabric, but I'm having too hard a time seeing it. And I'm also, this right in here is all almost, there's so much white or very close to white there because it's the light coming through the doors and I can't see it. I can't see it. I stitch it and it's like, I think I stitched something there. The other problem I have is there's a spot right in the middle, and I don't know if it probably won't show up on camera, but there's something wrong in the middle there and it doesn't look right. So I have decided that I'm going to restart this piece because I absolutely love this picture and I really would love to have it hanging on my wall, but I am barely 10% in. There's a long ways to go. I do not want to be fighting with this piece for the next who knows how many years to try to get it done. I want to be able to stitch it and enjoy it. So I've decided that I'm going to start it over. I want to do it on 18 count Aida, and I am already planning on gridding my own fabric because I also want to do it on a hand-dyed fabric so that I can see these white stitches. But I want to be, this is where I need some opinions and some guidance. I want to pick a hand-dyed fabric, nothing super dark obviously, but something dark enough that basically when I stitch these things I can see that I've stitched them. So, but I want to know what color hand-dyed fabric should I purchase to do this. My original thought was like a tan, but then I think, oh, but then am I going to have a hard time when over in here or when I'm over in the piano? So I actually have found an Etsy seller, which funnily enough, is that a word? Funny enough, it said, oh, ships from Michigan. I was like, oh, well, let me check out this Etsy seller. So then I clicked on it to see where in Michigan it came from. It comes from Shepherd, which is like 8 miles down the road. So I'm like, well, I definitely want to order from this person. And they have really good ratings, so that should be great. But I'm going to put 2 or 3 different options from her shop up here. I'm actually kind of leaning toward the lightest green. I don't know. Tell me what you think. Which color do you think would cause me the least? Actually, what I'll do is I'll put both. I'll put the fabric and the picture up so that you can see which color fabric would help me to see my stitches the best, but also not blend in with some of the colors. I appreciate anybody's thoughts. I'm thinking at this point that what I'm going to do is make that a new year, new start. So I've already bought this sulky sliver so that I can grid it. And I figured I would order the fabric here in the next month so I would have it and I could maybe get a chunk of it gridded and have it ready to go for the beginning of the year. But I'm not going to mess with it anymore this year. I'm going to move on. I believe, well, no, that's not all for cross stitch. Who am I kidding? So let's talk for a minute about my Whipco board. Will this show up? Oh, pretty good. So my Whipco board is actually looking pretty good, I think. And so I only have 2. It's hard to see on the screen, I know. I have 2 squares that are yellow because they've been culled, and both of those I'm working on, the Knit Me Together and the Christmas ornament. And so I'm pleased with how that's coming. I feel like I'm kind of keeping up on that. My plan for the next month is to try to get Knit Me Together finished, try to get the third Christmas ornament finished. Hopefully I'll be able to start and get the piece for baby girl done, or as close to done as possible. I won't be able to put the name or the birth date on it, most likely, so that's fine, but get that as far along as I can. And I would like to get back to working on some fall coverage. I actually missed that, and I have not had time to do it. So I'd like to pull out probably Minnie the Library and work on that for a while. Other than that, I don't think that I'm going to work on anything else in the coming month. I do want to share with you one other thing. It's behind me here. It's kind of hanging up in the closet. I will insert a picture here. I stole this idea from Jackie at Cross My Stitches. And I don't know, I know she started it, but I don't know if she's kept it up because she hasn't mentioned it in her last few videos. She was going to make like a board that showed all her current whips. And I thought that's a really good idea because sometimes I'm like out of sight, out of mind. I kind of forget about things. So I didn't want a big board, but I used my Canva account and I made up this sheet, and I ended up with 3 pages, and I put, you can see the left side is my full coverage or almost full coverage pieces, because I did put Long Dog Sampler on there, the pandemic piece. And you can also see that Sunlight Sonata has a little on hold icon on it right now. And then my middle page is my medium-sized pieces, and then the last page is my smaller pieces. And so I'm kind of referring to that as my cross stitch on deck board. And I think that for the most part I should only ever have to update the second and third, or even just the third piece every month, but I'm trying to update that every month. And since it hangs right there in my closet, I see it all the time. So like, okay, yes, these are the things I should be working on. And so that's just been kind of fun. I don't think I have anything else for cross stitch. So let's go ahead and move on to quilting. I've seen several people online have what they refer to as a sewing machine mat, and I thought that looked like a neat idea. And I found this pattern, and this is what I'm referring to. They would have this sitting under their sewing machine. I think this is probably a thread catcher, and these are just little pockets to stick like your scissors and snips and seam ripper in. And I thought that was a really good idea, but I also felt like this would probably annoy me because it would be basically hanging in my lap. When I found this pattern though, I saw that it had also this on it, which they show hanging over the end of an ironing board. But I thought that would actually be perfect for what I wanted. So one day, this spring, my mom was up here camping at the campground not too far from my house, and she came over one day and we made that ironing board caddy, but I am using it under my sewing machine, and I will insert a picture of it right there so you can see what we did. It is pretty handy. It's nice to be able to stick my snips in there while I'm sewing and not have them roll off my sewing table, which is what they were always doing. And it's cute. Okay, sorry, I'm not sure where I was. I could hear footsteps, and so I stopped for a second to see if my husband needed something. Anyway, I believe I just got done talking to you about the sewing machine mat thingy that I made. And I really have enjoyed that. Then the other day I made myself, and it's going to be hard to get a decent picture of this, but I'll try to put a picture in here. I basically made like a huge pillowcase, dress bag, to hang the quilted wall hangings that I'm making for the entryway into the basement. I made this big pillowcase thing to hang over them, the ones that aren't currently being displayed, because my goal is to have several that I can switch out throughout the year to match the season. And I'm quite proud of that, because also that fabric is the curtains that were hanging in the nursery when my kids were little. My mom and I made those curtains, and when I took them down I noticed that they had faded quite a bit, and so I was like, well, I can't donate them, and so I just shoved them in my fabric stash, and now I have recycled them, so I'm feeling really good about that. I believe the last time I showed you the newest wall hanging I had pieced and it was up. It was the one with the flowers in it, and then I had a panel that was patriotic that I intended to get done for the 4th of July. Did not. It was about a week after the 4th before I actually got it pieced. It is hanging on the wall as the others did. It is a pieced quilt that has not yet been quilted, but it's hanging up. And another month and we'll be able to hang that very first one that I did last year, the autumnal one, up. And so I'm hoping that I can take the patriotic one, the flower one, and maybe even this one I have in my hand, to the long armor once that autumnal one comes up. My husband and I went to a store. It's called Elm Creek. It's in, I think its address is probably Farwell, Michigan. And I really like this store. It's kind of a strange store. When you walk in and go to like the left, there's a good sized room that has like women's clothing, and it's like nice women's clothing. Most of it, I look at the price tag and go, out of my budget. And then you walk in, and like behind that is another room. You could either go straight into this area, or you could go through the women's and get in there. The back corner of the store is like a quilt shop, craft store. And then as you move across the back part of the store, they have like kitchen stuff, like spatulas, nice like spatulas and stuff, and some home decor. And then the whole right side of the store is like garden stuff. And then you can go through. They have some birds. You can visit with the birds. That's really cool. I always think of Julie stitching at the cabin when I go see the birds. And then there's some greenhouses. Well, we went up there because I want a certain plant, which they didn't have any, and I still haven't found one. But while we were there, I made my husband walk through the quilt shop part, and I said, I'm looking for a panel that, we can put up Christmas or winter time. And we both liked this one. I'm hoping I can get back far enough that you can see this. Maybe you can. So it has some cardinals on it, and then it has a deer. I mean, ultimately I would like to have a Christmas one and a winter one, but for this year I'll be happy just to have this one up. This one can go up like when I put the Christmas decorations up, and stay up until I put the spring one back up. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe I can get this done so that maybe I can take a couple of these, 2 or 3, to the long armor all at once. I know it will cost me a fortune to have them all long armed at once, but it would be nice to have them finished. I'm pretty sure that I had not done this before. When I talked to you before, I think I showed you the panel, but I had not actually made it into a quilt. But I did get a quilt made for baby girl. I just put this piano keys border on it. I put a square in each corner and then these strips to make a border. And I actually just picked this up from the Long Armor on Monday. And I'm really pleased with how it turned out. Let me see if I can find a good example. She quilted bumblebees on it. See, oh, maybe that one's upside down. Let me find one that's right side up. Where's the right side up bumblebee? Oh, this one right here is right side up. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe I'll just flip it over and show you. Even though you'll then be looking at upside down giraffes. But I think the bumblebees are so cute. Where did it go? There's his legs. This is, I don't know. I'm doing a very poor job of showing the bumblebees. There's a really good one right there. Right there is a really good one. Here's his head, his little feelers. So, and I thought that was cute because there are bumblebees in the picture. So I thought that was cute. Maybe I should have showed you on the back. It might have been easier to see the bumblebees on the back. But the back is just that. And I am going to, the binding is going to be the same as the back. The binding is all made. And one of my tasks today, tomorrow or Sunday is to get the binding attached. The way I put binding on my quilts is I sew the binding onto the quilt. This is not the binding for this quilt. This is the binding for the wall hanging that's currently hanging up. But I can give you the same. You'll get the general idea. I sew it on here like this. So raw edge to the raw edge there. And then I sew it all the way around. And then I take it and I fold it over and I hand sew it onto the back. So like I said, this is obviously not the binding for this quilt. I don't know where the binding is. It's laying here somewhere because I did just make it the other day. So again, since we're going camping next weekend, this will be a great project to take with me because hand sewing the binding onto a quilt is a great sit in front of the TV kind of project. And I intend to gift this to my daughter-in-law at the next shower, which is being held for our side of the family at the end of the month. And I know that my mom has already made her a quilt also, so baby will have lots of things to lay on and keep warm under. I think that's it for quilting and sewing, so next up will be knitting. I ended up having to ditch the baby blanket that I had made. I was actually pretty close to finishing it, and I went to start weaving in ends, and I had one that I don't know what was wrong. I don't know if it wasn't an end, but I was trying to fix it, and I ended up basically making a huge hole in the blanket that I didn't know how to fix, so gave up on that. I did download a pattern for a baby hat, and I made that. I am not convinced. The pattern had multiple sizes, like preemie, newborn, 3 months, 6 month, 9 month, 1 year. This said it was newborn. Now either I knit way tighter, or it just seems really small even for a newborn. It was a super easy. I mean, I think I knit this in about 2 days. I really would like to make a couple of maybe baby hats, both for my granddaughter and my great niece. I don't know. I may try again and do a larger one. Maybe I'll even do 3 months larger than what their head size should be during the winter in hopes that it fits. I don't know. The other knitting project I've been working on is this pink graphite shawl. This is by Melanie Rice. Melanie Rice Handworks. And I think I've shown this before. I have made quite a bit of progress on it. I actually think that this stitch marker down here might be the last time I showed it to you. So there's the bottom. And I am at the point where now I have to start adding in the gray, which will be what I do today. I don't tend to work on this a lot. Like 1 or 2 rows a night. Usually if I am able to sit down and watch Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy, that's what I do while I'm doing that. So that's basically it for knitting. I would like to maybe try making some baby hats. But other than that, I don't really have anything else that I'm working on, and I really would like to finish this, and then I think I have a couple other things started that I would kind of like to finish and get things under control. That leaves reading and just other. So I'm not gonna go into real depth on what I've been reading. I have still been reading a lot. According to Goodreads, I am on track with my reading goal for the year, and I've read a lot of good things, and by reading I mean reading and listening, because I do a lot of audiobooks. If you really like to know what I've been reading or what my thoughts are on some of my reading, I am trying to put a reading wrap up. I am trying to post a reading wrap up on Instagram every month, and so those can be found there. While I'm chatting here, I am putting I'm gonna put just a screenshot of, I have a page in my planner where I stick a picture of each book as I read it. So I'll just put that. So, and I'll try to focus in on what I would have read since April. The other reading related thing that I'd like to mention, I think it was Harmony, from Harmony Stitches / Cornerstone Stitchery, told me about this spreadsheet. I know many of us have found the Crossstitch planner, which I love that spreadsheet. It's great. There's something just very satisfying about filling this in. And I will say though that on the pieces, and I don't know, maybe someone else has a better solution, but on the pieces where I don't want to count stitches, or I don't normally count stitches, I have just been putting an X to indicate that I worked on it that day. But Harmony told me about this other spreadsheet that she saw online, and it's a reading one. And so I purchased it. It was probably silly of me to spend money on this, but I'm a geek and I love this kind of stuff. So this is just kind of I know you can't see that super well, but you have a spot to put the title, a picture of the book cover, the author. You can indicate what genre it is, what the status is, like you're reading it, you finished it, you DNF'd it. I actually DNF'd a book in the last few months. I don't do that hardly ever, like ever, and I DNF'd a book. I was like, wow. You can put the date you start it, the date you finish it, what format it was in. So as a librarian, I do hear people a lot of times say, no, I don't do ebooks. I have to have a real book. if it's words and it's a story, I'll read it. I read paper, I read ebooks, I listen to audiobooks, and actually I would have probably told you a few months ago that I prefer a paper book over an ebook, but I'm beginning to wonder if maybe I don't. I did have my husband buy me a Kindle, like an actual Kindle, basic Kindle, for Christmas. And then just 2 weeks ago, I checked a book out from Melcat, which is our statewide sharing system. So it was a paperback, like a trade paperback book. And the whole time I was reading, it's like, oh, wow, I'm like holding this thing. It's flopping all over and it's awkward, and maybe I do like my Kindle better. Anyway, I digress. So I can mark what format I read the book in. I can say what page I'm currently on. I don't usually fill that out till the very end, and I can say how many total pages there are. And then once you say how many total pages you are, it fills in that you're at 100. It figures out the percentage of where you are in the book. It has a place for you to say how many stars you rate it, and you can put your favorite quote. You can put some notes. And I don't ever put a favorite quote because I usually don't remember that kind of stuff. Or you can put your favorite chapter. I don't usually fill any of that out. But I did, like one here I put in the notes section that it was actually 3.5 that I was rounding up to 4. Anyway, then, so it has, like the Crossstitch spreadsheet, it has multiple sheets at the bottom, and there's a book tracker one, so you can say which ones were your favorite books, and then it's magic. It pulls the cover art from the first page and fills in. So I'm just like, this is like I said, the geek in me just is like, this is great. And then it makes, every time you put in a book, it makes a little library for you. Just see this little library scene. All of these books, the book titles are the books I've read. I thought that was so cute. At the wish list page, I'm pretty sure is supposed to be for books that you want to purchase, but I rarely purchase books. I'm cheap. I'm a librarian. I spend my day with books. I love books. I just don't feel the need to own them. I do have a lot of ebooks, and I do own some paper books, but I rarely, and if I purchase books, 9 times out of 10 these days, I'm purchasing an ebook. I do currently have a Kindle Unlimited subscription, which I kind of tell myself I should get rid of, but I have been reading books off of there. I also have an Audible subscription. I had gotten rid of it actually, and then in my email yesterday I got you can have it for 99 cents for 3 months, and I thought, well, I can afford $1 a month. Plus I know that there's a book by one of my favorite authors in a series of hers that I've been reading that's coming out in November, so I'm going to use one of the months to buy that book because I have the rest of the series on Audible. So anyway, this has been fun. That's been a fun thing for me to keep up. The other thing that I do in my reading journal, which you saw earlier, was I put all those, and that's probably duplication of effort, and I probably won't do it next year since I have the spreadsheet, but I do make that other page in my planner. And one of the people I follow online puts out one of these reading logs every year for free. And so I have that in my digital planner, and I just color in a book every time I finish one. That's always fun. What else has been going on? Nothing much. Got the barn built. That was great. Now I'm saving my money because I want a sunroom, which was another thing that when we bought this house, we were like, we can envision a sunroom in this particular spot. It may take me several years to save up enough money for said sunroom, but that is my next goal. My husband did retire from teaching, and his intent is to substitute teach. So we'll see how that goes, because school starts up at the end of this month, and we'll see how he likes that and how busy he can keep himself. I hope that you're all enjoying your summer, that you're having lots of stitchy and crafty time, and hopefully I will be back here in a month. Happy stitching!